boy, this is going to be a tough one. I'm going to ask that you put your big girl underwear on. We're going deep. You're here with your elder in chief, Karima McGee, here on this channel. It's all things hot wisdom. Y'all ready to roll? Take a look at this and we'll be back to chat. Go ahead.
Cut me! 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 Cut me!
Oh boy, that was a tough one. Listen. This is going to be a tough video. I kind of feel like I need some kava tea already. I need to step away because that was tough to watch. But let me tell you something. What kind of strength must you have to face your mother with a knife in hand and say to your mother, cut me, cut me, cut me? What kind of strength must you have to not cower and cry and bow down or bow out? How much trauma have you already dealt with that you stand firm and you say, cut me, cut me? That video, my goodness, the reason why I wrote the book, Maternal Lockdown, which is too heavy for me to even deal with right now because it's all too heavy, all right? But I want to use this video because this right here is exactly what I'm talking about. There are women out here who say, oh, Kareem, I have problems with femininity. I have a hard time dealing with my sensuality. I don't know how to deal with a man in relationships. Well, darling, if you came from a household like this, what do you think of yourself? How could you? If this is the kind of household that you come from, where your siblings had to act, your own siblings had to act as a shield between both you and your mother. Your siblings watched on as one of your siblings had to be the most logical person in the room, the most mature person in the room, to usher your own mother out, who was threatening you with a knife. How do you expect that you are going to be able to deal with the world from a different perspective when that has been your world? That has been your world. And I'm sure this is not the first encounter, because there are the laws of threes, which says that a person never ever does a thing one time. Never ever. Violence, never ever. If a person does violence once, they'll do it again. There is no such thing as doing a thing once. When it according to behavior science, there's no such thing. So I'm sure that this is not the first time, especially how elevated it was. I'm sure it definitely wasn't the second time. All right? Because somewhere in there, the young girl would have probably wanted to give forgiveness. And I'm sure this is well beyond the third, because she tried to stand up for herself. So when I get women who are sending me emails, and I have phone calls, and they're saying things like, I don't know how to be a lady. I don't know how to relax. Well, darling, if you have been in a state of battle most of your entire life, you don't know what it's like to relax. You don't know what it's like to sit back and to be calm, because you had to defend yourself your entire life. Now, I want to go to something else. From there leading into this place. Yesterday I did a video about desperation. Desperate looking for a rich man, and we talked about the 304 culture. And I want to make sure that I get this out. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the book, Maternal Lockdown. But women who are naive, women who have experienced trauma, some sort of grooming, conditioning. All right? These women are most susceptible to falling prey to men who've been waiting their entire lives. Fathers, hear me when I say this. There's a whole group of men, a glorified group of men in our culture that has been around since the 1960s, all right? If not longer than that. Organized crime, in a way, all right? The pimp culture has been around forever. I talked about this in a video. That video, almost 2 years old, I talked about it. I had a guy on there explaining in his own words that he looks for women who have self-esteem issues, women who are naive, women who are not street smart, and women who are looking for a father figure. He knows exactly his mark. And he goes and gets them. So fathers, if you're listening, there's a man waiting to take advantage of your daughters. I need you to be in their lives. And I'm not talking about I need you to be an active participant, meaning showing them the ropes, showing them what to look for, giving them the play-by-play so that they can identify it themselves. And this is my attempt of trying to do that, ladies. If you've been struggling with who you are as a woman, I want you to go back to The Return of the Divine Feminine, that book. You know, the one that changed the game, all right? That book, I want you to go back into where I say to you, women, research your mothers, their mothers and their mothers' mothers. I need you to understand where you come from, because then that will give you perspective on why you keep allowing folks back into your life who do not deserve to be there. For men, if perhaps you've been dealing with the same guy over and over and over again, he just keeps cheating, but you keep letting him back, dear, that is a behavior that you've learned somewhere along your childhood. You've learned that you can forgive poor treatment because poor treatment may have been the only treatment that you're used to. Now, I read something somewhere. I don't recall where I read it. I read a lot. But it was speaking about or talking about women who allow abusers in their lives for longer than normal. Most of the time, it's because they've experienced abuse on another level. And so one way to work through their new abuser is to kind of try to change the abuser. And I really thought that was amazing. I wanted to write it down so I could come back to it, but nevertheless, I did not. But I wonder what you guys think about that. If you have an opinion, drop it below. But if you have a problem accessing certain parts of your body and your mind, controlling your behavior, your anger, I want you to understand that it just didn't happen today. There is some sort of experience or experiences that have caused you to become where you are, but you can help yourself today. Yes, you can. You can help yourself today by going back to the book, Return of the Divine Feminine, doing the work there. Start by doing the work. Work yourself backwards. I know Drew asked this question. She said, what happens if you made so much progress and then life happens or a circumstance happens and you find yourself, maybe forgetting all that you've known? And I said to her, Drew, listen, dear, life is going to happen. Circumstances are going to happen. And it will test what you know and whether what you know is good enough to be knowing. You can help yourself today. Go back, do the work, start over. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed to go back to the drawing board. But you can change your life today. Regardless of your past experiences, you can heal from it. But you got to be willing to face it. And you got to be willing to understand that you are not alone. And just knowing that you're not alone, perhaps it doesn't give you the courage to move forward. But I want you to know that it's bigger than you. Now you going on out there, and you face the world, and you face yourself, and you face your mother, and you face your father. And fathers, understand there's a whole subculture of men waiting for you to fail so that they can have your daughters. Until next time, be empowered, be inspired, and be well.